Right, so I haven't got a clue where this video is going to go. Now, if you're watching this, we're going to title this Dialogues, and it's been a minute since I have created a new YouTube video, and the reason for that is, one thing I've been working on is basically stripping total clarity. I basically stripped it down to parts, and I'm in the process of rebuilding it. And the reason why I wanted to call this sort of video series Dialogues is because as we sort of build and basically document this process, it's going to give you the closest insight into my mind, some of the decisions that I'm making on a day-to-day basis, and really just sort of bring you along for the journey. And a lot of the topics that I cover, it's interesting because I'm sort of publishing this video not really caring, not really wanting a return on this. In essence, I'm creating this for myself. It's almost like a journal log. So it's going to be interesting to sort of look back on these videos and look at the message that I'm sort of building and basically use that as a blueprint to continue duplicating success. There'll be nuggets in this video where I'll be taking it from the books that I'm reading, the experiences that I'm having, and also basically what I'm working on with my clients so that I can dissect that. I think a thing that makes me really unique, or something that I see as an asset in myself, is that I'm in the trenches going through this. And trenches is such a cringy word, but I'm really in the process of doing this myself so that everything is real time. I always learn from other people in the sense that I'm always on YouTube, I'm always reading books. My library is one of the most popular things that I have, most precious things that I have. Knowledge is a superpower. And one thing that I found with a lot of modern day mentors is there's a disconnect. So it's like I'm here, they're there, and they're speaking from a sense of completion on their end, which is good. I want everybody to succeed. But the issue is that a lot of these people, they're speaking from where they're currently at. They're not actually creating content to what I'm going through and the struggles that I'm facing. Whereas me, the content that I push out, I'm basically in there with you. Every time I learn, it's getting fed right back into you guys. One of the things that I sort of wanted to circle back to is being okay to strip things down, start from scratch. It sort of reminds me of a very cliche quote. Whenever you start again, whenever you are going into another venture, you're never really starting from zero. You can never truly fail. The only way that you fail is if you quit. And however many times you readjust, however many times you sort of change that filter, a lot of the stuff that we're going into is going to be spiritual, esoteric, delving the journey within. So however many rebirths you have, you're always starting from experience. There is always something to take in that process. And one of the things that I've been working on is, just because I'm rebuilding, it doesn't mean that I'm starting from scratch. The fact that I have this level of authenticity and this level of clarification really shows me that this is the right step to be taken. Now, what is it essentially that I do? That's one thing that I've been shying away from with Total Clarity. For those of you that know, that obviously I used to work within a coaching business. I had Legs Fitness Training. That was my role from 17 to early 20s. I was online fitness coaching. Started off as personal training. Now, in and amongst that, I had loads of different skill sets be born. This sort of came from lockdown. This came from general circumstances. I always had this mindset, and I had to sort of cultivate it from sort of upbringing and like that going from child 18 into the adult world. I had to cultivate this mindset of, this has happened, how do I respond? And the thing for me is, I always wanted to learn new things, whether that be reading books, whether that be taking on new skill sets. And then amongst that, it sort of like roots back to lockdown, was literally just learning to do things on my own. So website design, logos, branding. So as I was sort of like working with coaching, Legs Fitness Training, rebranded, launched the Ascension Project. In and amongst all of that, I developed a passion for branding, creating graphics, and what that sort of cultivated with this mini wave of other coaches and other business owners asking how I was doing it. Who does your branding? Who does your social media? How are you able to think of content? All these sort of like business related questions. And as I sort of, began enjoying the responses in the DMs, that opportunity birthed itself just as a way of me simply learning more, clicking stuff. I'm very proficient at the Adobe Suite. That literally came from me just clicking random stuff. I bought a subscription, and I just spent about an hour making rectangles, learning how to fill them with colour, then adding a gradient, then adding a border, and then just watching YouTube tutorials, right? So out of that basically birthed another business, which was Monday Media, and that was like basic graphic design, logos. It was just a fun project, right? It was never going to be scalable. There are definitely businesses that can scale, but it was never going to be that thing, was it? And I was sort of like running those two in conjunction with each other, always knowing that I sort of wanted to shift into this position where I would help people grow their business, so that I would still have that coaching aspect, because I have a passion for helping people grow. You know, I loved seeing the change in myself, and I think the best way to teach something, the best way to give back is to help others, as cliche as that sounds. And I also wanted to have that creative asset. You know, I sort of grew up being very artistic. Logistics and numbers were never really my thing, so the fact that I had found something where I could help people become better versions of themselves, but also help them grow their business, it was a win-win. But it was too separate, and there was always a gap. And then it was really sort of only last year where I sort of branded into Clarity, Total Clarity, which was sort of just like a hybrid of the two. I was posting videos online, you know, I was sort of like working with some businesses and sort of like working on their websites. I was building booking systems. You know, I've got a circle around me that sort of brought me into some new industries, which was good. Really, from there, that was sort of like what birthed the foundation. And I've sort of been doing that for the past year, but still feeling I was trying to push myself into too many boxes. I was trying to work with industries that I didn't really have experience with. And what I've been doing recently is I've been working with one of my very good friends, but also clients as well. We basically sort of like took him from a very good monetized platform and restructured that into a business. And, you know, as I've sort of tried to force myself into all these boxes, I've basically, you know, the niche, the focus has been staring me in the face all along. And the point that I'm sort of trying to make is that you can't force yourself into these boxes, because when you do, you may take some wins, you may accumulate some slight progress, but you'll always be sort of thinking, doesn't feel right, something is missing. And that really is what I was feeling. And yesterday, the past couple of weeks, I've been sort of like really thinking, what's that next stage, what is that next play? Because all it takes is one play and you can change your entire life. And this sort of like restructure now, I basically had to strip everything really back down to basics, truly back to parts, and I've rebuilt it. And literally stayed there all last night. We're not going to get into the conversation of having how my routine works, but had a very late night. We've been up early morning, and I feel so aligned, so clear on what it is that I'm doing. And all it has been is literally what I've been doing all along. It's been staring me in the face, and it's such a weird feeling because, you know, on paper you would think, oh, I'm starting again, I'm doing this again, what next? Is it going to work? You get all these senses of doubt, all these senses of like judgment as to if it's going to work. But if you feel that it's authentic, if you feel like it's the right play to do, there is no downside to that. There is only an upside. And one of the things that I've sort of been working off of lately is intuition. Now, intuition is a very weird feeling because it's not a sense. You know, we have our five senses. We can touch something, feel something, smell something. Intuition comes from within. And this tattoo on my hand, we'll sort of do another video on it. A lot of this really is going within. It's sort of focusing. This is the journey. You know, you can spend an eternity thinking, what's next? Where do I need to be? What do I need to have? You're always sort of focused, like I was for a very long time. What do you need to be working on that's in the external? So only when you actually look within and you focus on your intuition that everything sort of becomes clear. Intuition for me is thinking, what choices can I make that feels right in this moment right now? Something that some of you will know if you have access to me, but not all of you will know, is that I have basically sort of discovered or become connected with faith. So converted to a Christian and getting baptized, and a lot of that was governed off of intuition. There was never a second guessing. It just felt like the right thing to do. I feel like as a business owner, if you can really sort of become connected to that with your intuition, it's truly going to guide you along the right way. You never really have to second guess everything because you know that it feels right. If something doesn't feel correct, somewhere along the lines there is something that you are not seeing, there is something that you need to be pushing forwards with. And intuition has really been a big part in all of this. So, you know, there's a lot that needs to be done. There's a lot of work that I have to do on my behalf, but the position that you eventually need to come to is you've got the pain of where you're at now. You know, you're not living up to yourself. If you are religious, you're not representing God in his highest form, where we are made in God's image. You're not living up to that expectation. You're falling short. You're, you know, living in sin, and you're sort of consuming as opposed to creating, which is literally what we're meant to do. Or maybe you're not. Maybe you haven't sort of came to that awakening. You just know that something is missing. That is that next stage for you. That is what you need to be working on. And I think as we sort of round this video off in this dialogue, I'm absolutely cranked off of pre-workout. I've just finished a really good session, and I just wanted to bring you into loop with where my mind's at, what this next stage looks like, and really sort of as we go into these dialogues, what I'm going through on a day-to-day basis. And somewhere along the lines, most of it's going to be waffle. You're going to have to skip along, play it on ×2 speed. Maybe you're going to be going back from the gym just like I am. Maybe you're just going to that next business stage. Somewhere along the lines, there's going to be something in this video for you that you can apply. I don't know what it is. It's not for me to say, but you sat with me, we've gone through this together, and through every experience there is always an opportunity to grow. There is always somewhere that you can come out of this video with more than what you initially came in with. So that's enough waffling for me. The next stage for me now, it is 5:48 in the morning. That gives you enough indication as to what my mornings look like. But now I need to go home, I need to journal, I need to sort of think about what today is going to look like, how I'm going to create. And from there, it's really just, you know, I've started this day off strong. I've created a life for myself and a physique that I want, but I've also created knowledge for you guys, and I've given back. But now really it's just a sense of putting things in action. I'm in a very high oscillation right now. I feel on top of the world. I cannot fall for the trap of consuming too much, you know, just letting this ride on this wave of motivation, and then I'll just consume content. Now I need action. That is what I need to do, and therefore that's what I'm going to do. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed today's dialogue, and see you for the next one.